Percentages converting from fractions and decimals with number chips. This is a digital lesson. It's a lot of fun for the students. They're going to be moving these number chips into place in order to solve each one of these problems. So it starts out with explaining what a percentage is. It's a comparison out of 100. So 45% means 45 out of 100. And here's some very basic conversions. This decimal, if it's read correctly, is 56 hundredths, which is 56 out of 100, which would be 56%, and so on. And then one whole would be 100%. So on the next slide, students are going to be moving these number chips into place. This first slide is pretty simple. It's a practice slide for the students. To move these chips, they just click and hold on the edge, and then they can move them into place. So 12 hundredths would be 12%, 59 hundredths, 59%, and then so on. Now, one way to convert a decimal to a percentage is to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So here they can see this is 62%. If they have 1 74 hundredths and they move the decimal point 2 places to the right, they get 174%. And then this one, if there's no number here, they have to add a 0. So this would be 30%, not 3%. So the next slide, students are going to be doing that. So again, they have every number that they need. And they have to be careful on these. So this one would be 65%. And here, if they move the decimal point 2 places to the right, they get 6 5/10%. This one would be 70% because they have to add a 0. And then this one, 7%. So they have to be careful on all of these. Now, if we're converting a fraction to a percentage, we want to change it to a decimal. So we want to first change it to a fraction with 100 in the denominator so that we're comparing with 100. So here we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 5. That gives us 45 hundredths, which would be 45 hundredths as a decimal, and then a percent. So students are going to be doing this and practicing on the next few slides. So here, if they multiply numerator and denominator by 5, they get 30 hundredths. We just move the 30 into place and the 100. As a decimal, that would be 30 hundredths, which would be 30%, and so on. So on this second one, we just multiply numerator and denominator by 2, and they get 82 hundredths. So students are going to get a little practice doing that. They're just converting all of their denominators to 100. Now, sometimes we can't just directly convert our denominator to 100. So we may have to simplify first. So here, if you simplify 18/40ths by dividing by 2, you get 9/20ths, and that we can convert to 100 by multiplying by 5. So students are going to be doing that on the next couple of slides. So here, if they simplify by dividing by 3, they get 2/5. Now they can multiply times 20 and get 40 hundredths. And the purpose of having every number that the students need is if they're struggling, they know they have to use every number. Or if they get to the end and the numbers aren't working, they know they've made an error somewhere and they need to go back and check. So simplify, then convert to a fraction with 100 in the denominator, convert to a decimal, and then a percent. Now, it's not always possible to convert that denominator to 100. So here we have 5/8. We have to use long division in order to solve this one. So the next couple of slides, they're going to be using long division. So they have some smaller numbers here so they can do the division. The first one is mostly done for them. So most of the division's done. They just have to fill in these numbers. So 8 goes into 10 one time, which is 8. Subtract, bring down. 8 goes into 20 two times, which is 16. subtract, bring down, and now 8 goes evenly into 40. So they have 125 thousandths. Now, to get their answer as a percent, they're going to move that decimal point 2 places to the right. And this one, they have a movable decimal point. So they have to place the decimal point correctly. And if they move it 2 places to the right, that will give them 12.5%. The next one, they have to do all of the division themselves. So it's a long division problem. Again, use all of the numbers, place the decimal point in their answer. So that is a digital lesson on converting fractions and decimals to percentages.